doing.
Listen, call Mayor Alexa. When I went to Raw last September, you know who had the coolest entrance? Nikki Cross. She had helicopter lights going all over the place, and she's yelling like, ah! It was crazy. It was crazy.
So you figured standing on a stool using a flashlight would be a cool intro?
Yeah. Yep.
If my articulation allowed me to face palm in disappointment, I would. Let's get the review started.
Hey y'all, welcome to Lumberjillville. Women's Wrestling lives here. Now today we'll be reviewing Basic Series 111 Nikki Cross. I just got her from Ringside Collectibles with overnight shipping. And make sure to hit like and subscribe. All future women's figures coming out, including Ultimate Edition Charlotte, and also that Elite Series 79 Io Shirai, I have overnight shipping to try to get the review out ASAP. So that being said, let's get a closer look at these. So looking at the two versions here, it was actually interesting to me because this version on the left that has the pink and the blue, more signifying her tag team partnership with Alexa Bliss, is the regular version. Whereas the Chase version on the right here, in the black, blue, and gray, that's more of the iconic type look. So I actually expected it to be the other way around, but honestly it's not a big deal. But that being said, let's get a closer look, starting off with this regular. So this attire was specifically worn by Nikki Cross in the January 31st, 2020 edition of SmackDown, where her and Alexa Bliss teamed up to defeat Fire and Desire in a tag match. Now before we get a closer look at the attire, let's take a look at that face scan as it is new. So this scan, as well as the hair mold, is different from her Elite. Now I think this face is miles ahead of the old one that didn't resemble her at all, but in that Elite, with the hood and bandana and sunglasses, the face was covered so it really wasn't noticeable. Now, honestly, when I first saw this face scan, I wasn't too impressed just from the images, but looking up close, it does resemble her quite a bit, and I think they do a fine job. I love the addition of the messy, crazy hair. I think that's awesome for her. So overall, this works great. So this to me is where the figure starts to fall short, and that's in the attire, and I'll show you why. Now, I'm glad that they included this paint variation as her regular version, because this signifies her tag team relationship with Alexa Bliss. It's got nicely painted pink and blue lines on the front, very vibrant. She got a little silver X on the left side. On the right side says Nikki in blue, black outline, and a little pink design around that. Now I really like the inclusion of this logo on the back. I think that looks cool. And the lower extremity, not much to talk about. Just a generic lower extremity mold here. It's just all painted black with no molding, and the little rip is painted on with flesh-colored paint. But that works. I mean, it's a nice little detail. And then she just has generic short boots. So, my issue with this is Nikki Cross has a very distinct style. She does not wear skin-tight clothing. So, the fact that they just painted on all the design detail in her attire, it just doesn't work for me at all. I mean, it doesn't make sense. And this is what drives me nuts. We look up close. We're back to the belly button issue, y'all. The Victoria's Secret body paint belly button issue. And that just doesn't make sense to me, and I'll show you with the other version too. It's like she has thick, multi-layered clothing on when she wrestles, and this is painted on like it's a skin-tight top. So it just bothers me, and it's not very accurate. So that, it is what it is. But let's move on to her Chase version. So moving on to her Chase attire, I have to tell you, before we get a closer look, I mean, this sucks. And I hate being so negative. I like to be positive on this channel. But I'll show you why. So taking a closer look, this time around, we have black, blue, and white being the primary colors used. We have this nice logo in the back, blue lines. Now, what bothers me is if you look closely, she has blue straps painted on. And, this is the worst part. It looks like they tried to make it look like she's wearing a leather vest on top with the blue paint. And as I mentioned before, she doesn't wear tight-fitting attires. She has her own style that's pretty awesome. And she usually has like a thin leather-type vest on top. And it's almost like they tried to make that paint application signify a leather vest or something, and it just looks cheap. I mean, this is straight-up Victoria's Secret body paint right here. But moving down to the lower extremity, she has this gray color this time. And the holes in the jeans, instead of having one with skin tone painted on, she has 3 with black, signifying she's wearing leggings underneath or so. So, honestly, the other one looks just fine, and I'll probably display the other one. But this one I don't think I will. It's just such a letdown with that paint. I mean, there should be some type of molding. They need to put detail back in these women's basics, because this just does not look good. So when I got these basics, one of the things I wanted to do is compare it to her Elite. Now, she had an Elite release in Series 66, and as you can see, this is a crazy Elite. I mean, it's awesome, honestly. The only thing off on it is the face scan. I don't think it looks like her at all, but let's get a closer look at this Elite first. So as you can see, this thing is decoed out. I mean, she's got this awesome jacket mold, which comes off, and we'll do that. There goes Basic there. And then also she has this hood bandana piece, and that comes off. And then she has sunglasses. So like I said before, it's easy to mistake or to not really notice her face on this figure just because it's buried under all that. But to me, this does not look like Nikki Cross. I mean, the hair looks kind of crazy, which is cool. But yeah, it looks a little too, I don't know, it's just off. But on top of that, if you look at her accessories and her clothing, I mean, this vest, holy crap, it feels like a leather. It's like a thin rubber, but this is what she wears. This is the type of material, not painted on body paint, okay? So this Elite is just miles ahead of her basics. Also, if you look, she has molded rips in her jeans. They're not just painted, and the design is breathtaking. I mean, this is one of those figures that has so many layers to it that it's really awesome. Now, I know we're here to talk about Basic 111, so we'll get back to those. But to compare, you know, as you can see, the Elite's got bent knees, so she's a little shorter. But when she's standing straight up, she's about the same height. So they didn't do too bad on the scale of her Basic, which I was worried they're going to make her super tall like the Carmella. But she should be a little shorter. And actually, that'll transition into what we'll do next. We're going to get some of the most recent Basics and even Elites and compare them to this Nikki to see how the size matches up. I wanted to do a couple more things while I had this Basic in front of me. The first thing is there's an upcoming Elite Alexa Bliss that comes with the Women's Tag Championship. Just one. If you get two of them, you get 2 championships. You're going to need her to be with a Nikki. And this is the Nikki you would use in this attire. Now, using as a model this Walgreens exclusive women's division Alexa Bliss Elite, you can see that the Nikki is taller. And in real life, Nikki's billed at 5'2", Alexa 5'1". But it's not a huge difference here, honestly. I mean, they would look fine together, even though Nikki is a little bit taller than she should be. But this is the Nikki you'd want to go with, okay? And the Alexa, I'm guessing, would be around the scale. However, you have to be worried, and that's something I'm going to show you next, is that they have been making the Elite women miniature. I'm talking tiny. And the Basic's pretty tall. So let's move on to that. So talking about the scaling issue, here's a quick example. I am still working on a scaling video because it's out of line. So basically, the women's Basics and the women's Elites just aren't compatible. They look horrible together, and this is why. So Nikki Cross, Basic Series 111 in the middle, okay? She stands at 5'2". Lacey Evans, Elite Series 76, she stands at 5'8". Do you see a problem? They're pretty much the same height, and they should have a 6-inch difference. Okay, now, my biggest problem, and like I said, my scaling video, I'm really going to go into detail. This Nettie Neidhart is spectacular in design and detail, but she is the smallest action figure I have seen in my entire life as far as women's wrestlers go. She looks like a kid. And she's supposed to be 5'5", okay? Nikki Cross, 5'2". She's about a foot shorter than this Nikki Cross Basic. So Basics and Elites, as far as the women's figures go, they really can't be displayed together, and that bugs me. And on top of that, the Elites are really shrinking down in size. I don't know why. I don't get it. That'll be a future video, but I just wanted to show you how the Basics and Elites have been contrasting lately. But anyway, let's move on to scores. Alright, so overall I give Basic Series 111 Nikki Cross, the Chase version, a score of a 4 out of 10. To me, there's just no effort put into this. The paint detail, where there should be molding, it doesn't look good. The face scan is the only saving grace in my opinion. That being said, the regular version of Nikki Cross I give a 5 out of 10. And even though it's a low score, this is almost a must-have for women's wrestling figure collectors, and here's why. If you plan on picking up that Alexa Bliss Elite that comes with the Women's Tag Championship, and you plan on getting 2 of them, you're going to need to get this Nikki Cross so she can be paired with that Alexa Bliss. But other than that, I mean, these figures are just disappointing. But like I said, you need to pick this up if you want to pair it with Alexa Bliss and those tag titles. Thanks for stopping by Lumberjillville. Women's wrestling lives here. Now, as I mentioned before, I have a lot of exciting figures coming, and I pre-ordered them the overnight shipping to try to get a review out. This month, we have Basic 112 Sasha Banks, we have Elite 79 Io Shirai, and we have Decade of Domination Natalia. I hope I get those all this month, and as soon as I do, you'll get a review. So make sure to hit like and subscribe so you don't miss. Have a good night, y'all.